Rathcool's a large housing estate, and we are wanting to highlight the issue that we need more housing, but we have houses there that the Housing Executive are holding back on us. We've 4 multi-stories. Recently they spent £3 million, near enough £3 million, and they have only opened up and give out 19 of those. There's 52 in total in one block. So they keep telling us that there is nowhere. They won't open up the multis, they won't give us the answers to the questions. We have been down to the Housing Executive, rent a large house. It's terrible. It's absolutely diabolical the way that they treat people. So we've also wrote off to the Northern Ireland Housing Executive, asking for freedom of information for four questions, and in response to that we were asked to pay a sum of £887. So we limited that down to 2 questions, hopefully that we could avoid the payment, and they came back with a very generous discount, and now they're looking at £825. Today we are going to walk around to the Northern Ireland Housing Executive, where we're going to give them a payment of £887 in monopoly money, because we think it's a joke that they are asking us to pay that money, knowing that we're from a deprived area. Rathcoole sits in the most deprived areas in Northern Ireland. They know this. They know that that we can't afford to pay that money. So, as a joke back, we're paying it in monopoly money.
The group were concerned for a long period about how these empty properties were left lying vacant for up to 4 to 5 years, yet the housing waiting list, in particular people in housing stress, keep increasing year on year. So today was really about trying to bring it home to the Housing Executive and the DSD that by leaving those properties vacant and empty, they're actually driving people to homelessness as opposed to finding a house for people.
Well, basically it's affecting people's lives. It's really putting a lot of stress on families, because people that are on social housing, they can't, they're going out to work, they're coming home with minimum wage, there is no social housing, and people are forced to take private landlords. So they may be coming home with their wages and spending most of that on their rent, the private landlords, where if there was social housing, they're affordable and available, people's livelihoods would be a lot more comfortable.
The residents of Rathcoole contacted PPR after seeing the work of residents in the Seven Towers and the Equality Can't Wait group as well. They'd seen the work that Towers residents had done to improve conditions within Towers, but also their ability to hold the Housing Executive and the Minister to account. And they wanted to tap into that expertise, and they wanted the support and assistance, and PPR as an organisation were more than happy to do that in any way that we possibly can. But I think what you saw today too was it wasn't just PPR as an organisation, but there were residents there from the Equality Can't Wait group, from New Lodge, Ardoyne, Cliftonville, but there are also residents who are currently homeless, who live in hostels, coming out to support Rathcoole residents, because the clear message is that there needs to be a strategy to tackle housing inequality and housing need, and there isn't one currently, and the very proof of that is the fact that 100 empty apartments can be left vacant in the Rathcoole area despite the growing demand for housing.
There was 2.9 million, near enough £3 million spent doing those flats up between 2009 and 2011. Then they only moved in allocated 19 apartments. So the amount of revenue that they're losing out on from bringing in rent could well have done up the other block, but apparently they tried to sell the block off the housing association, and the housing associations didn't want it.
The common feature in most of the groups that we work with in their dealings with housing bodies is the problem. The response of the housing associations and the Housing Executive and in the DSD, the lack of common respect, dignity, and also the very fact that the Housing Executive exists to find houses for homeless people. And people, whenever they see that not happening in their community or barriers being put up to that and ask questions about it, the response that they're getting is not a let's work together to try and resolve this issue. There's a combative response from the public authorities. And, that's not what anybody wants. People want houses. And what we need is a strategy to address that, but address it in a way that looks at the particular issues in each community. If it's inequality, well, let's develop a strategy to tackle inequality. If it's an issue of vacant properties or an issue of poor housing, well, let's look at refurbishment programs. You know, and that's what should be driving housing policy, but at current it's not, either through the housing executive, through the DSD, or let's face it, through the executive at Stormont, because the DSD and the housing executive are able to pursue this approach with impunity and lack of accountability. But as we see today, and we've seen over the last 6 months with all the groups we work with, people aren't willing to stand for that anymore, and it's just right.
We understand that this is not just happening in Rathcoole, but this is happening all over Northern Ireland in working class areas. There's no representation there for people in working class areas, and we're hoping that the housing issue, they open up the flats and they start giving flats to local people so they can live in their own communities where they feel safe, they have a structure of friends and family, and get on with their lives.
They should be resolved when they open up these flats. That's step one of the process. But part of a wider strategy, you know, you're opening up the flats not just to do one community benefit, you're opening up the flats so that people who are homeless in need of housing get the housing. You know, there's been far too much political interference in housing in North Belfast, and that's party political interference, and decisions made about housing which are not based on addressing homelessness, but decisions which are, as we've seen from the Freedom of Information response from Rathcoole residents, are not transparent or accountable, and certainly not what the housing executive are supposed to be about.